This is Moshe coming to you from Israel in the Galilee on Wednesday, 28th of February, 9:50 in the morning. Our weather today is pretty encouraging. 60 right now, high is 69. And in spite of that, no rain, not in spite of anything. And tomorrow it'll hit 70 on Friday, 71 on Saturday, and then it goes down into the high 60s, and then in a few days, we'll be getting into the 70s again. So the house might start to warm up a little bit anyway. I think we're out of winter. I've seen this before about 30 years ago. Okay. Let me jump into the chat real quick. Not going to take a long time. We got sound and picture. Almost there, guys. Okay. Being a Bible believing site, I'm going to do some praise. There is no God like Jehovah. 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 There is no Messiah like Yeshua. 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 An update on the protection for the iPad I'm broadcasting on. I bought the same iPad protection as this, but the new one is all screwed up. This one has a soft rubber border. The new one is hard, and I can't even figure out how to open it up and get it on. Their instructions are worthless. So anyway, the Lord showed me just push the computer back, and I did that. So if the thing falls down again, it's just going to land on the keypad, which will cushion it, and that's it. And the sound is better without the cover. When you put the cover on, it muffles the sound. So I think I'm okay. If it falls, it's got nowhere to go. It's just going to tilt down over the keypad. It's not going to get on the floor. So that's that. Okay. So I think I need to talk quickly about current events because they're happening big time. The Houthis definitely destroyed 4 cables near Djibouti. They did it with an explosive. They didn't send divers down. I guess they couldn't arrange how to go down about 300 feet with the divers. That's going to require sophisticated equipment. Most of the people that go down with, tanks and a face mask, I don't think they get down more than, 50, 60, 100 feet. 300's a bit different, I think. That was the maximum depth that submarines could dive at during World War II. There's a lot of pressure down there, so I don't think they had the right setup for it. So they decided to drop explosives on it. So what apparently happened is these cables were partially destroyed in some cases, mostly affecting Europe and Asia. Okay? So the Houthis denied it. Oh, what else is new? And getting it repaired, if nobody shoots at the ship doing the repair work, is 6 or 8 weeks away, depending who you're talking to. Now, I don't think they're finished. I think they are going to use the next time multiple explosives. All they have to do is rig something like a depth charge. They can measure the depth very stupidly by just taking a fishing sinker on a line and dropping it till they think they hit the bottom, and then put a mark on that place and then reel it in and measure it, and then set the depth charge, which is an old weapon, and it has a water depth meter that would trigger it, and that's it. Or they can just, if they don't even need to do that, they just need to get something like an explosive with a timer. Now, how long is it going to take for the bomb to drop down 300 feet? I don't know, a few seconds, 20 seconds. So set it for 3 minutes, and they could they could send down multiples and just blow it up in different places. I think they're just getting started. Okay? I don't think they're done yet. I think their first attempt was not entirely successful, and they definitely sent a signal to the world, and that's it. Now you got to understand, they just brought in 200,000 other terrorist fighters, most likely predominantly from Iraq and Syria. So their ranks are probably counting the Yemen. The Houthis, the best estimate was about 167,000. The Yemen regular army brings it up to about 200,000. And then another 200,000 is 400,000. Now, some people are saying 500,000. The rule of thumb to invade a country is you have to have your military force triple what theirs is. Why? They're dug in. They got bunkers, tunnels, compounds, hideouts in mountains or whatever. It's very difficult to undertake something like this with the tunnel. Look at what we went through with Gaza and Hamas. We're still fighting because of the tunnels. We're still finding more tunnels. Now, if America, the UK, and the EU, and more sophisticated countries decide to do it, it won't take them as long as it took us. But we were fighting, someplace between 25 and 50,000 fighters. They're fighting much more. So it's going to take months, if not years. Will they do it? I don't know. Biden, working his snare, was looking for excuses to move the American military out of the United States. Here you have one. But he's not going to go it alone. He wants to get other countries in with him, so it makes it look to the voters and other people around the world that Biden's doing the right thing, not America just going off on their own. So the UK would join in, and I don't know who else. Maybe France, Germany, Italy, I don't know. They'd probably try to get India and other countries to join in with them as well. These countries are afraid that if they do that, they're going to get Muslim uprisings in their country, demonstrations and violence, and they have terrorists there. They have sleeper agents there too. Plenty of them. Tons of them. So the snare's on them in a way too for letting them in. NATO war with Russia, they announced something was going to happen, troops in Ukraine, and then many countries said, no, we're not sending troops into Ukraine. Does that mean they're not? It doesn't mean anything, I don't know. I think one of the reasons that Biden and the EU countries are giving the weapons to Ukraine is to work the snare, which overall is God's snare, but they'll think it's their snare, by running down their military reserves and giving Russia an upper hand that way, or a better chance, if war breaks out between NATO and Russia. And the EU and Russia too. So that's what's going on with that. They're depleting their military supplies, America and many European countries, because the leaders are all in on the snare. They don't have a one world order. They have anything but a one world order. The UN is a complete joke. It can't go anywhere because the General Assembly is just noise. It doesn't mean anything. Okay? General Assembly doesn't do beans. Okay? All the General Assembly does is say things. They got to go to the UN Security Council and get the UN Security Council to make a decision to take action militarily or economically or both. Now, there's countries that have permanent veto power that are opposed to each other. You got China, Russia, America, UK, and permanent veto power, so they just stop anything from happening. So Satan can't get anywhere with his UN, so he wants a new one world order. So he's, at this point in the progress end times, he's opting for Sharia law type Muslim countries. And they're indoctrinated to hate Israel, which is Satan's goal, that there be no Israel and he stay out of the pit. It ain't gonna work. I've never seen God lose yet. I've seen God punish nations, and it looks like they lost, because they did. But it wasn't that he wanted them to win, he wanted them to lose. Okay? So God never loses, all right? So Hezbollah did a rather large missile attack on us yesterday. Many of the stuff fell in open fields. It was takedown. They went after Mount Meron, a military installation. They didn't get it. They didn't hurt people. They just fired a lot of ordnance, and now we told them there's going to be a big payback for that. I don't think it's happened yet, but it will. And I have a feeling it will probably expand in scope very large. They'll cook something creative up. Don't worry about it. Gaza, they're trying desperately for a ceasefire in Gaza. Who's they? Not Israel, Biden and other countries, because they're hoping that if they get Israel to stop the attack on Gaza, that Hezbollah will stop and the Houthis will. I think they crossed the line with the Houthis, and the Houthis may not. I mean, if Israel says, okay, you can have a Palestinian state, we'll leave the West Bank, you can have 5,000 prisoners out of the jails, and, give us the hostages back and we'll call it a day. then the Houthis might stop, because all they got to do then is wait for the terrorists to fill up the West Bank, get the missiles and everything else, and kill Israel again. And that's, short of that, I don't think they're stopping. They got an axe to grind with the UK and the US, and I'm not so sure. Just a few minutes ago, they shot another, or maybe an hour or two, they shot another ship, or they shot at a ship and the missiles landed near it. The British ship they hit a couple of days ago is sinking, and they're trying to tow it to Saudi Arabia for repairs, but they got to mend the hull. It's complicated, and they may not be able to do that. They may lose the whole ship. It's a merchant marine ship. So that doesn't appear to be stopping, and invading with 400,000 is, the technology that America, the UK, and other advanced NATO countries have is pretty good. It's excellent. But they don't have a lot of it, but it's excellent. And they might try to raise a force to go in to the Houthis and stop this. But you're talking about, with 400,000, with all the technology, maybe they could go in if they bring a lot of armor in, a lot of helicopters for air cover, a lot of jets. Like, by a lot of jets, 300, which is easy. They're in the Middle East already. And they can probably severely damage the Houthis' operational capability inside 1 or 2 months. They won't stop them, but they could really mess them up badly. The way, look, if they went in like in the World War II days, okay, let's get their water, let's get their electricity, let's get their sewage, let's get their ports, get their piers, let's get their military bases, their airports, all of this stuff. Would that stop the Houthis? No, because they're underground. They just go underground or in the countryside or whatever. So you're still not going to stop them if you knock out the entire infrastructure. So they won't stop them, but they'll impede them temporarily, depending on how quick Iran wants to help them rebuild. Okay? Remember, if the Houthis stop funding, if they stop preventing a threat, the big wealthy, Muslim nations with oil are not going to give them any money. And they're out of work. We don't see a peace deal in sight right now. We don't see a peace deal on the table. Biden wants one by Monday. Dream on. Ramadan's going to come March 10, and it goes to April 9. And we're at this point, even for sure after that attack yesterday, either Hezbollah is going to move back to the Litani River, 17, 18 miles from the border between Lebanon and Israel, or Israel is going to shove them back by force. I think it's past the line where if we stop fighting in Hamas, we're just going to let the Hezbollah run around to attack us again another day. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. We're going to attack them one way or the other. And there was talk about attacking them on Ramadan. I don't know for sure if they will. I expect they will. There's a new strategy that's leaking out. A year or two ago, we gave water rights. We gave up fighting them for water rights on some 300 square mile area of ocean where there's thought to be natural gas and oil deposits. And as part of that concession, they had to agree to peace. Now, as the nation of Lebanon, now the Lebanese government is saying, well, we can't stop Hezbollah, so don't count that against us. Well, that's nonsense. Israel knows better. And if they try to say, it's not us, it's the Hezbollah. And Israel says, you're responsible, you're the government. So the thought is that we would revoke that and make it into what's called disputed territory. Now, what that means is, you see, what Lebanon has to do is make sure they can find oil and gas there for sure, get large companies that are international in oil and gas exploration and development to sink hundreds of millions of dollars, if not into the billions of dollars, to build platforms, drill, and make pipelines and stuff like that, and start bringing these natural resources out of the ocean and give a lot of money to Lebanon, which may someday bail them out. If it's disputed territory with a country like Israel, which is considered unstable and able to, and could, wake up and do anything one day, that's how they view us. Nobody's going to invest hundreds of millions or billions of dollars into this thing, so whatever they put in is going to stop. Is this going to stop the Lebanese government? It's going to get them really rattled, and they're going to scream bloody murder to the international community, but it's a contract's a contract, and just because they say, well, we can't stop them, doesn't mean they can't stop them. So then Lebanon will call for help to the international community to stop Hezbollah. Now, this might work. Hezbollah is a terrorist organization, and they might say, okay, this could actually happen. I'd go 50-50 on that. And they put together a force of, you're not going to be able to do it through the UN. Of course, China, Russia will veto it. So you'd have to do it outside the UN. And, they might assemble the force. They don't need a big force like in Yemen. If they put together, initially as little as, 3,000-4,000 troops, and, put them on the border to keep them back behind the Litani River, it could work. Except Hezbollah has a lot of tunnels, and they may not go for it, and they may just say, the heck with you, we're not cooperating. And then you got the UN fighting against Lebanon, and, they might assemble a force. They don't need a big force, 50,000 would do it. Maybe less, 20,000. With air support and tanks. Maybe Israel helps out, and they go in and they just shove them back by force. They create a line, put troops there, patrols, and they stop them from occupying that area. And the Lebanese government, the de jure government, the real legitimate government, says, hey, this is great, we love it. It could happen. But that's a slow-moving freight train, and I'm not so sure there's enough time for it. There's no biblical holiday that I can find that's going to fall in Ramadan. March 10 to April 9. The 11th of February was the new year. And, then you count your days to Pesach on 11th, and then you go to Shavuot. And Shavuot's going to happen after Ramadan. So, and, Passover and on 11 before, obviously. So, I don't see any, Moedim falling on there. The eclipse they're talking about is a predictable event that the world knows about, and I would not look for anything, biblical prophecy fulfillment on the eclipse. I would ignore it. Okay, that's all I would do. the Ukraine war is continuing and continuing and continuing, and some countries don't give them weapons, others step up and give them weapons. And they want to run Putin down, have Putin use up his armies and his equipment and weaken him so he can't be as much of a threat against NATO. And that's their game. The other game over that, the more elevated demonic game, is to run your military equipment, supplies, and reserves down so you make it easier for Russia. Russia's not all that overwhelmingly powerful. They may call, NATO and EU may call to put troops in Ukraine and just shut this mess down with Russia that way. Giving Ukraine the F-16s, and the pilots are being trained now. It's probably a couple of months away, probably the beginning of the summer, when they'll be ready to attack Russia with the F-16s. And they'll be able to go inside Russian territory and attack them on homeland Russia, which Putin will consider outrageous, and explain to the people that Ukraine's making a threat to their entire homeland, and try to justify a war against NATO and Europe. Israel's not drafting the ultra-Orthodox, although the Supreme Court said they could, and the Supreme Court wants to know why they're not doing it. It's a very simple answer. Netanyahu's coalition partners are the Shas Party and United Torah Judaism, the two ultra-Orthodox political entities in the Knesset that control 15 votes, give or take a vote or two. It changes from week to week. Out of 120, they have 15. So if they start drafting these members of the ultra-Orthodox, the two parties may break from Netanyahu's coalition, which causes Netanyahu to run. They'll have a vote of no confidence, and Gantz will probably get in immediately because they'll just hold the vote the same or the next day because of the war. And they'll do it with the Knesset, and Gantz will emerge more than likely with 61 votes, and then Gantz is prime minister. Netanyahu is nothing. And then the Supreme Court will bear down mightily and heavily on him for his 3 criminal cases, and he winds up in jail. So that's why they're not getting drafted. Okay? I'm thinking. All right. We'll get into the Bible in a minute. I got to run and do something. I forgot to do something before the broadcast, but it's rather fast. So I'll be right back. What did I do here? I'm not so. Okay. Now, talking about war in Europe, Russia versus NATO and the EU, and China versus Taiwan, and North Korea versus South Korea. My hunch here on that is that they're waiting to see Biden entrench a lot of the American military in the Middle East. And Biden may or may not do that. See, we know they're working a snare, but we don't know all the details of the snare because they're changing their plans all the time. But God has a snare on America. Jeremiah 50 verse 24. So he says that they're in a snare. Okay, so let's discuss the daughter of Babylon versus Mystery Babylon the Great. First, we got a toss request for W.M. William Mary. W.M. William Mary. Toss requests. Okay. So, the first prophecy on the daughter of Babylon is Isaiah 47. The others are, the big ones are Jeremiah 50, 51. So I'm going to go through those and I'm going to point out highlights that will help you understand who they are because I'm going to identify them. And I'm also going to differentiate between the two, which is a real hard thing for a lot of people to understand, but we're going to cover that in depth. You hear now Rue Brian Green. People accuse me of being a lot of people over the years. I'll just get rid of this person. I don't even know why he's putting that stuff up. Okay, garbage is thrown out. All right. Isaiah 47. Now, the interesting thing here is, of course, it says daughter of Babylon. So there's not a lot of doubt as to who we're talking about. Come down and sit in the dust, O virgin daughter of Babylon. So it's the daughter of Babylon. Sit on the ground. There is no throne, O daughter of the Chaldeans. The Chaldeans were the soothsayers or witches in the original Babylon, the Babylonian Empire that the Israelites were in captivity for 70 years in. For thou art no more called tender and delicate. Take the millstones and grind meal. Well, sounds like there's some sort of food shortages. Trucker strikes, Red Sea blocked, maybe next the Mediterranean blocked, the Persian Gulf blocked, who knows what else. Grind meal. Uncover thy locks, make bare the leg, uncover the thigh, pass over the rivers. Thy nakedness shall be uncovered, yea, thy shame shall be seen. Well, some of you know what that could likely mean from that certain Telegram channel I have, and it could also just mean nakedness and just shame. I will take vengeance and I will not meet thee as a man. This is Jehovah taking vengeance, which it gives us a clue, the day of vengeance, which brings us to the year of recompenses, which we're in now. As for our Redeemer, Jehovah of hosts is his name, the Holy One of Israel. Sit thou silent and get thee into darkness, O daughter of the Chaldeans. Well, darkness. You know, the pharmacies are still unable to get prescriptions filled from that hack attack. And a big steel company was also hacked and it was unable to produce steel. It's like the last 2-3 days. And the AT&T phones went out. Now, that was no EMP attack because it only hits selected companies. An EMT attack is a blanket attack over a geographical area. And I'm not so sure how real those things are. But hacking attack is real as rain. Darkness, O daughter of the Chaldeans, for thou shalt no more. You see, the daughter of the Chaldeans were the Babylonians. And the daughter of is the offspring. Same unclean spirits, I would think, running the countries. For thou shalt no more be called the Lady of Kingdoms. Oh, it's starting to sound like America. What lady are they talking about? The Statue of Liberty, the Columbia Motion Pictures icon, the woman with the bird on her head on the roof of the Capitol, that woman, that lady, the Lady of Kingdoms. I was wroth with my people. I have polluted my inheritance and given them into thy hand. There's about the same amount of known Jews, Judah and Levi, in America as Israel. And that's not even taking into account the lost tribes, which are probably the North American Indians. And the Indian wars were probably inspired by the devil, and there you have that. Polluted my inheritance and given them into thine hand. Thou didst show them no mercy. Upon the old thou hast verily laid thy yoke. Well, they pick on Jews there, believe me. And a lot of discrimination. And thou saidst, I shall be a lady forever, back to the Statue of Liberty, so that thou didst not lay these things to thy heart, neither didst remember the latter end of it. Therefore, hear now this, thou that art given to pleasures, that dwellest carelessly, that sayest in thy heart, I am, and none else beside me. I shall not sit as a widow, neither shall I know the loss of children. But these two things shall come to thee in a moment. In a moment. The word for moment is 7281. Let's see how Storms puts it into English. Let's look at the Hebrew rather. I know how he puts it into English. It actually is the time of a wink of an eye, like that. So it's like maybe you would say a second or even not even. So I would say that's not a literal, but let's read it. But these two things shall come to thee in a moment, in one day. Okay, the loss of children and widowhood. The loss of children are the espots that follow the demons there, and the widowhood involves being married to the land. They shall come upon thee in their perfection. So this is God's snare. It's perfect snare. for the multitude of thy sorceries, and for the great abundance of thy enchantments. Now, the government runs like this, the industry runs like this, the computer games, the movies, the TV, all of this. For thou hast trusted in thy wickedness, thou hast said, none seeth me, thy wisdom and thy knowledge, it hath perverted thee. It's just they have evil, they have knowledge of the evil only, and not righteousness. And thou hast said in thy heart, I am, and none else beside me. Therefore shall evil come upon thee that thou shalt not know. This is happening now. Just because he used the leaders to destroy the country, that's the way the snare's working. You don't know you're in a snare until it's too late and they pull the cord and the trap falls down on you. Okay? Thou shalt not know from whence it riseth, and Myster for evil shall fall upon thee. Thou shalt not be able to put it off. And desolation shall come upon thee suddenly, which thou shalt not know. Which that you never knew of is what it's probably saying in English better. Desolation. Now, it doesn't say desolation's going to come on you in a second or a minute or in an hour or a day. It comes suddenly, so it starts all of a sudden. See, now, if Russia and China were going to start approaching with their fleets and their air force, they would see it coming. They couldn't do it with just an air force. It would have to be involving ships, and they know it would be coming for weeks. Stand now with thine enchantments, and with the multitude of thy sorceries, wherein thou hast labored from thy youth. If so be, thou shalt be able to profit. If so be, thou mayest prevail. He's laughing at them, saying, see if you could get out of this. See if you can win. Thou art wearied in the multitude of thy counsels. Let now the astrologers, the stargazers, the monthly procrastinators stand up and save thee from these things that shall come upon thee. That's all their, fortune tellers, astrologers, and whatnot. Behold, they shall, they throw like Ching coins, and they look at the liver and an animal, all the nonsense, Behold, they shall be as stubble. The fire shall burn them. Okay, pay attention to that. It's destruction, it's by fire. The gun culture, the survivalists, the preppers have no idea what they're in for. And then after the fires are finishing them off, then God washes the waves over the whole country. So those that are in their bug out locations will be gone. The only way is to trust God. You start trusting in yourself and man and your money and the survival equipment you have, you're a goner. Behold, they shall be as stubble. The fire shall burn them. They shall not deliver themselves from the power of the flame. You see, the preppers think what are they going to do? Shoot the fire with their guns? The flame's going to be what gets them. How many preppers do you know go out and buy a handful of fire extinguishers? Go find them. Look for them. I don't think you'll find any. There shall not be a coal to warm at, nor to sit before. Does that sound like the grid got hacked? Of course. Thus, or blown up, same difference. Thus shall they be unto thee with whom. See, the darkness, sitting in the dark, and it isn't. Now, when it says not be a coal to warm at, that's curious. A coal, let's see. Let's see how Strong's flips it into what he does with it here. Unused root meaning to glow or kindle. Yeah, it sounds to me like it's a coal. Okay. See, this is a very unique thing he's doing. A coal to warm at, nor fire to sit before. So it sounds like they're not going to be able to make a fire, light a torch or coal, which is very much what happened to Pharaoh's Egypt. They, I want to listen to what I'm hearing. Oh, something in the street. The Jews lived in Goshen and they had light in their houses. But outside there was such darkness you wouldn't see your hand in front of your face. So the Egyptians didn't want to come out of their house because they'd fall down. They couldn't see where they're going. They'd get lost. Maybe there was a few rare blind people that knew how to get around without any sight, but, let's forget that. They couldn't, because of how many would that have been? 5 people or something, it would have been very few. So they couldn't go out of their house, and in their house, they couldn't light a coal or anything. It was called chosek, a thick darkness that could be felt. Yet the Israelites had light inside their house, but the Egyptians didn't. So this is something like that's going to happen again. Fire, but they can't light a coal or light a fire in their house. So what are the survivalists going to do with their rocket stoves and all the other stuff? See what I'm saying? Thus shall they be unto thee with whom thou hast labored, even thy merchants from thy youth. They shall wander every one to his quarter, none shall save thee. Shut up! Okay, shut up! This is rather consistent with Jeremiah 50:51 and not consistent with Revelation 18, Mystery Babylon the Great. So remember this. Even thy merchants, let's look up that word and see how Strong's plays it in English. Shut up! It's really like an itinerant merchant, a traveling merchant. So it's got a connotation of a traveler. So I think this is pretty close with the foreign laborers in America that are going to go back to their own country. It says they shall wander every one to his quarter. Now, his quarter, what does that mean? Remember when they talk, like in the Civil War, quarter the troops here? It means that's where they're housed. Like where they're from is a good version of that, okay? So now we'll jump into Jeremiah 50. And we'll go through a few things and I'll start identifying who the daughter of Babylon is. First one, the word that the Lord spake against Babel. You see, in the Hebrew it's Babel, which means confusion. Babylon is what the English Bible's made of. But anyway, and against the land of the Chaldeans, those were the people that's the name of the people that occupied the original Babylon, because they're witches, soothsayers, enchanters, cursors. Chaldeans by Jeremiah the prophet. Declare you among the heathen, and publish and set up a standard. Publish and conceal not. Say Babel is taken. Now let's look at the word taken. Strong's flips it into English as captured. Better choice of a word. Babylon is captured. Bel is confounded. That was one of the demonic idols that the old Babylon had. It's the same unclean spirits running America as what ran the original Babylon. Merodach, another one of those idols, is broken in pieces. Her idols are confounded. her images are broken in pieces. For now, what religion that might have terrorists that might invade America likes to break religious idols? The Muslims. For out of the north there cometh up, it's probably from the north of England, of Israel. Out of the north there cometh up a nation against her, which shall make her land desolate, and none shall dwell therein. They shall remove, they shall depart, both man and beast. Well, we saw them leaving in Isaiah 47. In those days and at that time, saith Jehovah, the children of Israel shall come, they and the children of Judah together, going and weeping, they shall go and seek Jehovah Elohim. That means go to Israel. So that's your second Exodus, happens at about the same time the daughter of Babylon gets destroyed. Because it says in those days, so it doesn't have to be exactly the same day. The word for those, Strong's flips it into English, is him. I think it's those days is pretty okay. And in that time is that, and in that referencing time, saith Jehovah, the children of Israel shall come, they and the children of Judah together, going and weeping, they shall go and seek Jehovah Elohim. Why are they weeping? Because they know who Yeshua is, I guess. Now the word for weeping is 1058, Bakah. Weeping is connected to mourning, I would think. Bewail. Mourn. Yeah, I'd say mourning. Now when it says Israel, the children of Israel, that's the 10 tribes. And that means the lost tribes are no more lost. So God did something with them, or why would they realize they're Israel and all of a sudden want to come home to Israel? Something happened. Okay? They shall ask the way to Zion with their faces thitherward, that would be towards the east, saying, come and let us join ourselves to Jehovah in a perpetual covenant that shall not be forgotten. My people have been lost sheep. There it is. Their shepherds have caused them to go astray. Yeshua said, I am sent but to the lost sheep of the house of Israel. Now here we see them mourning and wanting to go to Israel and enter into an eternal covenant with the Lord. So I'd say they saw Yeshua. Something had to happen. They have turned them away on the mountain. They have gone from mountain to hill. They have forgotten their resting place. Now, they would most likely not be believers when they see Yeshua in the clouds. This is not the return in that Revelation 19. This is the sign of the Son of Man, and that's probably enough to bring them around, but I don't think they're going to have eternal life, because John 6:40 says, those that are believers, and see him will have eternal life. So I don't think they get eternal life at this time. But again, we got to see. They have gone from mountain to hill. They have forgotten their resting place. All that found them there's two kinds of eternal life giving. One is from the grave, which happened when Yeshua died. They came up out of the graves, showed themselves to many in Jerusalem. The other kind is when you're converted from your living flesh body and you have the Holy Spirit as a down payment for your redemption and you're a believer, and then you see Yeshua, your body in an instant gets converted to an eternal body. That's the John 6:40. Okay? You don't go to the grave or die in the grave. Perhaps you die in a blink of an eye, in the wink of an eye, from one body to another. This I'm not sure you do, but anyway, there you have it. All that found them have devoured them, and their adversaries said, we offend not, because they have sinned against Jehovah, the habitation of righteousness, even Jehovah, the hope of their fathers. Remove out of the midst of Babylon. That's again sounding like Isaiah 47. And go forth out of the land of the Chaldeans, and be as the goats before the flocks. For lo, I will raise and cause to come up against Babel, or Babylon, an assembly of great heathens, or nations. And the word great is gadol, which, yeah, you could definitely say that. From the north, great nations from the north country. The north country probably referencing Israel. Or it could be Canada. But it says, I will raise and cause to come up against Babylon an assembly of great nations from the north country. So it could be they come in through Canada. They shall set themselves up in array against her from thence. It sounds like it. She shall be taken, captured. Their arrows shall be as of a mighty expert man. None shall return in vain. And Chaldea shall be a spoil. All that spoil her shall be satisfied, saith Jehovah. Now, I don't think you could spoil, which is loot, plunder, and pillage, the United States in an hour. Even if you had 35 million people doing it, you got to go look for the loot, you got to collect it, you got to box it or store it up somehow, and then you got to get it shipped out of there. It would take you more than an hour to load the plane, the truck, the train, or the ships. Okay, we're going to be dealing with that hour thing in Revelation 18. And there's no looting and pillaging Mystery Babylon the Great in Revelation 18. Remember that. Because you were glad, and there's no call for the, well, let's keep going. Because you were glad, because you rejoiced, O you destroyers of my heritage, that's the Jews in Israel, because you were grown as the heifer at grass and bellow as bulls. Your mother shall be sore confounded. That's the original Babylon, and that down the road will revert into Mystery Babylon the Great. This is the offspring of Babylon. She that bare you shall be ashamed. Behold, the hindermost of the nations. That's the latest of the nations. But you got to understand, Jehovah has just 70 nations, and America's the last one. to get formed, apparently. It shall be a wilderness, a dry land, and a desert. Because of the wrath of Jehovah, it shall not be inhabited, but it shall be wholly desolate. Every one that goeth by Babel shall be astonished and hiss at her plagues. So it's going to look like Israel did when God turned away from Israel, just the wasteland. But Israel had some small amount of people in it. This is going to have no people. Put yourselves in array against Babel round about. That means surrounding her from all her borders. All you that bend the bow, shoot at her, spare no arrows, for she hath sinned against Jehovah. Look what she's doing to Israel right now. Shout against her round about. She has given, what specifically Biden's trying to get us to stop the war in Gaza permanently. Okay? Leave Gaza, have the Palestinian Authority run Gaza, leave Hamas there, okay? And basically they're just going to rebuild and attack us again in as little as 2 to 4 weeks. Maybe 2 or 3 months. And he wants us to give the West Bank over to the Palestinians so they could set up a bigger and better military base there than Gaza, and then attack us from there, as well as Gaza, as well as Lebanon. That's what Biden wants. If you think different, you're kidding yourself. Shout against her round about. No, she's surrounded. She has given her hand, so if Biden's still the president, he's surrendering. That's what that means. So the attack comes, he says, oh, we surrender America. Everybody lay your weapons down. The military stand down. We give you an unconditional surrender. Does that sound like Biden? Her foundations are fallen. Her walls are thrown down. That's got to be the Mexico-America walls thrown down. They have no other walls. There's no Canada wall, no Atlantic, Pacific, Gulf of Mexico wall. For it is the vengeance of Jehovah. Take vengeance upon her, as she hath done, do unto her. Cut off the sower from Babylon, and him that handleth the sickle in the time of the harvest. So he's talking about the agricultural workers that come in from other countries like Mexico and Central America. Okay? In the time of harvest, for fear of the oppressing sword, they shall turn every one to his people. And they shall flee every one to his own land. They go back to where they came from. We picked that up in Isaiah 47. That is not the case in Revelation 18, as you'll see shortly. Israel is a scattered sheep. The lions have driven him away. First the king of Assyria hath devoured him. And last, this Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, has broken his bones. Now, I don't think that's really happened yet, unless you want to say that happened on October 7th, because literally it did. They raped the women so aggressively and so many times, their pelvic bones broke. So he's referring to the head of the daughter of Babylon, America, as this Nebuchadnezzar, which was the bad king of Babylon. And the fact that you see him just surrendering, it just lends itself to the snare that Biden's putting on his own country. God's using the leaders that the people voted for, that wanted him to run the country. He's showing them that they stabbed you in the back. Same thing going on here in Israel. Therefore, there's so many parallels. Netanyahu's facing 3 criminal cases. Biden's facing impeachment. His son has questionable problems with the law that could spill over on him if he wasn't president, and so forth. Therefore, thus saith Jehovah of armies, Elohim Yisrael, behold, I will punish the king of Babel. At this point, we'd call him Biden, unless that changes, and his land, as I have punished the king of Assyria. And I will bring Israel again to his habitation, and he shall feed on Carmel and Bashan, and his soul shall be satisfied upon Mount Ephraim and Gilead. Now, Bashan means fruitful. That's like Jordan. Okay, let's look at the others. Ephraim. I wish I wouldn't do this. Okay, Ephraim. I think you're talking about the West Bank, I think, with that. And Gilead, I'm quite sure, is the West Bank. Yeah. Yeah, I'm pretty sure this is, yeah, in probably the West Bank. In those days and in that time, saith Jehovah, the lawlessness of Israel shall be sought for, and there shall be none. And the sins of Judah, and they shall not be found, for I will pardon them whom I reserve. Now, where do we see this? In Zechariah 13. Right after the battle in Zechariah 12. I'll read it to you. It's just one verse. And it shall come to pass in that day, the Zechariah 12:10 day, saith Jehovah of hosts, that I will cut off. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm down a verse. I got to go back up a verse. In that day, there shall be a fountain open to the house of David and to the inhabitants of Jerusalem for sin and for uncleanness. Now, that's not a great match here. I'll show you why. In Jeremiah 50, verse 20, we get a different kind of reading. In those days and in that time. Okay, so now we have a fit because we're in those days and in that time. Saith Jehovah, the lawlessness of Israel shall be sought for and shall be none. So initially, Judah, to the Jew first, then the Goyim, Israel, the 10 tribes. Initially, Judah, which is Levi and Judah, get to use that fountain. And then as the Exodus pursues, the second Exodus, and Israel, the 10 tribes come there, they, of course, will use the fountain too. And their lawlessness will not be found. For I will pardon them whom I reserve. And reserve is probably reserve or remain, or let's see. remnant, reserve. Go up against the land of Merathaim, that's one of the old Babylon demon idol things, even against it and against the inhabitants of Pekod, same thing again, was a part of the old Babylon. Waste and utterly destroy, after them, saith Jehovah, and do according to all that I have commanded thee. So he's behind America being destroyed. A sound of battle is in the land and of great destruction. How is the hammer of the whole earth cut asunder? And that's America. Nobody else could be considered the hammer of the whole earth. Look at America today. Military forces in South Korea, in Japan, around Taiwan, in the Philippines, in Europe, in the Middle East. Come on. Cut asunder and broken. How is Babel become a desolation among the nations? I have laid a snare for thee. Jehovah laid a snare for the daughter of Babylon, America. And thou art also taken, 39:20, Takad, captured. O Babel, and thou wast not, well, what happened on October 7th? Well, a lot of our people got captured. Thou wast not aware, thou art found, and also caught, because thou hast striven against Jehovah. Jehovah hath opened his armory, and hath brought forth the weapons of his indignation, of his anger. For this is the work of Adonai Jehovah of armies in the land of the Chaldeans. The Lord hath opened his armory and hath brought forth the weapons of his indignation. So that could be the balloons from China, the hacking, the sleeper agents, all this stuff. For this is the work of Adonai Jehovah of armies in the land of the Chaldeans. Come against her from the utmost border, that would either be Canada or Alaska. Open her storehouses, cast her up as heaps. Storehouses, food, weapons, I guess. And destroy her utterly. Let nothing of her be left. That's what's going to happen. Slay all her bullocks down. That's probably the police, the federal agents, okay? Let them go down to the slaughter. Woe unto them, for their day is come, the time of their visitation. It could be the military, too. It could be the military. The voice of them that flee and escape out of the land of Babel, to declare in Zion the vengeance of Jehovah Elohim, the vengeance of his temple. Is it possible that between now and then we actually get the temple and they do something to the temple? It's hard for me to picture this. It's easier for me to think this is vengeance for the temple when Babylon, many, many years ago, came in and destroyed Solomon's temple. It's the same unclean spirits driving it. That's what I think this is more likely to develop into as time unfolds. Call together the archers against Babel, all you that bend the bow, camp against it round about. Let none thereof escape. Nobody gets out. Once it gets to the point of the big attack, people are not getting out anymore. Recompense her, that's your recompenses hint, according to her work. According to all that she hath done, do unto her, reap what you sow. For she hath been proud against Jehovah, against the Holy One of Israel. Therefore shall her young men fall in the streets, and all her men of war shall be cut off in that day, saith Jehovah. Behold, I am against thee, O thou most proud, saith Adonai Jehovah of armies, for thy day is come, the time that I will visit thee, and the most proud shall stumble and fall, and none shall raise him up. The most proud are the Satan bots. They've got the money, the power, the control, the corporations, the governments, all that. As long as they have the power and control of the businesses and the governments, they're going to keep thinking that Satan and the demons are really the true gods and more powerful than Jehovah and stuff like that. Once that goes away, they're going to go into complete panic. And I will kindle a fire in his cities. Jehovah kindles a fire in his cities, plural. Okay? Let's see. And it shall devour all round about him. So the fire is going to burn all around the place. It's destruction by fire. Thus saith, and Sodom and Gomorrah was basically destroyed by fire and brimstone, which is basically fire. Thus saith Jehovah of armies, the children of Israel, is that children of Ben, the sons of Israel, and the children of Judah, the sons of Judah, were oppressed together, and all that took them captive held them fast. They refused to let them go. Now, this could be yet to happen, or it could be just judging the past. They may not want these people, the descendants of the 12 tribes in America, they may not want them to go back to Israel. Like Pharaoh stopped Moses and Aaron and the children of Israel, it could be a similar thing. Their Redeemer, think year of redemption, is strong. Jehovah of hosts is his name. He shall thoroughly plead their cause, that he may give rest to the land and disquiet the inhabitants of Babylon. Rest to the land is Haaretz, the land of Israel. And then he talks about disquieting the inhabitants of Babylon. Well, they're getting real close to that right now, aren't they? A sword is upon the Chaldeans, it's the occupants of America, saith Jehovah, and upon the inhabitants of Babel. And upon her princes and upon her wise men. A sword is upon the liars, and they're all liars in the governments, the businesses. And they shall dote, a sword is upon her mighty men, and they shall be dismayed. Dismayed is like, broken, shattered, their hope is gone, depressed. A sword is upon their horses and upon their chariots and upon... I think the terms for the Middle East, for the Roman era weapons used here is just the only way they could really describe, tanks and planes and Humvees and things like that, and missiles and rockets and such. And upon her chariots and upon all the mingled people, All the mingled people, is America not called the melting pot? All the mingled people that are in the midst of her. And they shall become as women. A sword is upon her treasures, and they shall be robbed. Now, that could mean house to house and a lot of things. A drought is upon her water, and they shall be dried up. For it is the land of graven images, and they are mad upon their idols. Mad upon their idols. They're going to their idols for help. Therefore, the wild beasts of the desert with the wild beasts of the islands shall dwell there, and the owls shall dwell therein, and it shall be no more inhabited forever. Forever means forever. Neither shall it be dwelt in from generation to generation. As God overthrew Sodom and Gomorrah, fire and brimstone, and the neighboring cities thereof, saith Jehovah, so shall no man abide there, neither shall any son of man dwell therein. Behold, a people shall come from the north. Again, they're coming from the north, and a great nation, and many kings shall be raised up from the coasts of the earth. That could mean from the different continents that are on the oceans, you know. They shall hold the bow in the lands, they are cruel and will not show mercy. What happened to us on October 7th? That kind of people. And will not show mercy. Their voice shall roar like the sea. That means a lot of them. And they shall ride upon horses, everyone put in array, like a man to the battle against thee, O daughter of Babel. Military age males. The king of Babel, that would be the president, hath heard the report of them, and his hands waxed feeble. Anguish took hold of him, and pangs as of a woman in travail, because he shall come. Now, that's because the president is probably afraid that he got caught in this and they're going to kill him. Behold, he shall come up like a lion from the swelling of Jordan unto the habitation of the strong. He shall come up like a lion from the swelling of the Jordan. It sounds like, because it says Jordan, that this is what America's going to do in Israel. Because I will make them suddenly run away from her. And who, it sounds like run away from Israel. And who is the chosen man that I may appoint over her? For who is like me, and who will appoint me the time? And who is that shepherd that will stand before me? I believe he's talking about the two witnesses and the anointed prince from the line of David, or Yeshua as the shepherd. But he's talking about his children, his sons, which are the two witnesses and Yeshua. Is the anointed prince from the line of David one of his sons? I doubt it. I don't think so. Not from heaven, no. Therefore wouldn't be. No, I don't see it. Therefore, I could be wrong, but I don't see that. Could be wrong, though. Therefore, hear you the counsel of Jehovah that he hath taken against Babel, and his purpose that he hath purposed against the land of the Chaldeans. Surely the least of the flock shall draw them out. Surely he shall make their habitation desolate with them. At the noise of the taking of Babel, the earth is moved, and the cry is heard among the nations. Let me take a quick look at the chat and see if I've got to collect the garbage. I covered when Gog and Magog happens and what that is yesterday. If you go to my yesterday live stream on my YouTube channel, it'll be under the live section. You could watch that. I took it in pretty good deep depth. Of course, I'm born again. Okay, let's continue. I got rid of some of the garbage. We'll go into Jeremiah 51, but I'm going to take a fast break for a minute. Give my voice a quick rest. I'll be right back. I'm not going to be very long at all. when we read that the destruction of the daughter of Babylon, America, is going to happen suddenly, it doesn't mean that we're not going to see it coming. Okay? That wouldn't be suddenly, that would be surprisingly, no one expects it, things like that. No, we expect it. And we're seeing it. That Chinese balloon the other day, AT&T, the phones going out, the pharmacies not being able to fill prescriptions because of the hacking. And you know, stuff like this. This is the darkness. They're getting ready for the darkness. Now, these balloons may be able to create fires with lasers or other devices. And how many balloons do they have? 1,000, 100, 3,000? I don't know. Jeremiah 51:1. Thus saith the Lord, behold, I will rise up against Babel and against them that dwell in the midst of them, that rise up against me. They've risen up against him. Two-state solution, give your land back, reverse prophecy. We don't want to see God run the earth using Israel to do so, with Israel answering to him. We don't want that. We want Satan. That's it. You don't believe that? I don't know how to help you. In the midst of them that rise up against me, a destroying wind. And will send unto Babel fanners that shall fan her, and shall empty her land for the day of trouble. In the day of trouble, they shall be against her round about. So she's going to be surrounded from all sides. Okay? We read the wall comes down. That's the South, Mexico. The Atlantic, the Pacific, Canada. All sides. Against him that bendeth, let the archer bend his bow, and against him that lifteth himself up in his brigadine, and spare you not her young men, destroy utterly all her hosts. That's the army. The whole army is going to be destroyed, or the whole military. Thus the slain shall fall in the land of the Chaldeans, and they that are thrust through in her streets. For Israel hath not been forsaken. See, the nations of the world believe it has, and they don't want to believe Hosea 6:1 and 2, that Hosea chapter 6, verse 1 and 2, that says the punishment on Israel is for 2 days. Peter said 1,000 years is like a day. It's a 2,000-year punishment. It's up. We're in the year of redemption, which started on or around August 1st. Israel hath not been forsaken, not redemption, we're in recompenses, year of recompenses. Israel hath not been forsaken, nor Judah of his God, of the Lord of armies, though their land was filled with sin against the Holy One of Israel. You see, they say, oh, Israel's sinning, and, you know, Israel's going to get it. You know, that's their doctrine. Flee out of the midst of Babel, and deliver every man his soul. Be not cut off in her lawlessness, for this is the time of Jehovah's vengeance, day of vengeance, year of recompenses. He will render unto her a recompense. That's a strong hint of year of recompenses, which the church doesn't even want to talk about. Nor do they really want to talk about year of redemption or anything like that. Babylon hath been a golden cup in the Lord's hand, that made all the earth drunken. The nations have drunken of her wine, therefore the nations are mad. This can't be anybody else but America. There has to be an Israel at the time that this happens, because they leave and go to Israel. Since 1948, no. I mean, this is beginning 1948, but there's been no other country since then that could even come close to this. Babylon is suddenly fallen and destroyed. Suddenly doesn't mean we're not going to see it coming. It means it's going to come suddenly. It's not going to take a year or two. Howl for her, take balm for her pain. That's a salve, an ointment. If so be she may be healed. We would have healed Babylon, America, but she is not healed. Forsake her, and let us go, everyone, to his own country. For her judgment reacheth unto heaven, and is lifted up even to the skies. See, the whole thing was built demonically, okay? That's it. And it's a lot worse than most people even realize. Jehovah hath brought forth our righteousness. Come and let us declare in Zion the work of Jehovah Elohim. So they leave, the true believers in Yeshua are part of Israel. All Israel shall be saved. They leave with the Israelites, the 10 tribes, and Judah and Levi, and they stop in the wilderness. You could read Ezekiel chapter 20, starting in verse 33 to the end. And they come to Israel and they declare what happened to America. Well, probably the Houthis cut all the internet cables, and until they declare it, nobody will know. Make bright the arrows. That sounds like a missile or a rocket, I guess. I don't know. Gather the shields. Jehovah hath raised up the spirit of the kings of the Medes, Median Empire, for his devices against Babel to destroy it, because it is the vengeance of Jehovah, the vengeance of his temple. I think, again, going back to the temple, Solomon's temple. Set up the standard upon the walls of Babel. Make the watch strong. The walls, the watch, a standard is a sign. It's 5251. Something lifted. Let's see how Storms flips it into English. A flagstaff, a signal, a token, a banner, a pole, like an American flag, I guess. A standard upon the walls of Babel, make the watch strong. What's going on in Texas? They're making the watch strong. Got it? The only place there's walls is in Texas. Chief, no. Don't do it, Chief. I know what you're up to. Set up the standard upon the walls of Babel, talking to the dog. Make the watch strong. Set up the watchmen. They're there now. I mean, what do you think's going on in Texas and other parts of the border? Prepare the ambushes, for Jehovah hath both devised and done that which he spake against the inhabitants of Babel. Let me get this dog out. Come here, Chief. Come here. Come here. What are you doing? Come here. Come here. Come. 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 I said come. You're coming. You're getting ready to do a bad thing in here. I'm going to put you outside. Give me a minute. I got to get the diet over. I'm going to be sorry. Come on, Yafa. Let's go out. Come on. Come on, come on, come on. He had to go to the bathroom and I put him out. Okay. I'm in Jeremiah 51:13. O thou that dwellest upon many waters. Now, they say that the daughter of Babylon is Rome. Does Rome dwell on many waters? No chance. No. They got water fountains, they got bottles of holy water, they got toilets, but that's it. Fountains. What about Mecca and Medina in Saudi Arabia? They're in the desert. There's not dwelling on many waters. Those are fantasy statements from people that can't bear to accept the fact that America is the daughter of Babylon. O thou that dwellest upon many waters, abundant in treasures, yeah. Just for the rich, Satan bought so, not for you all, but thine end shall come, and the measure of thy covetousness. Jehovah of hosts hath sworn by himself, saying, surely I will fill thee up with men as with caterpillars, and they shall lift up a shout against thee. That means the invasion. And there's your sleeper agents, because he's saying, I will fill you up, fill thee with men. That's not necessarily an invasion. It's the invasion of the, people from other countries that are doing amnesty at the border. And you probably have between 7 and 12 million of those. 70% of military age males. So you probably have 5 to 7 or 8 million of them. They're going to attack the military, make it easy for the invasion. Who are the enemies? Well, your primaries are China and Russia. Then your next tier is North Korea and Iran. And then you have various Muslim radical terrorist groups and things like that. As with caterpillars, and they shall lift up a shout against them. A shout. Let's see. Acclamation. I could imagine the chant that they're going to use. You hear it all the time. I'm not going to repeat it. He hath made the earth by his power. He hath established the world by his wisdom, and hath stretched out the heaven by his understanding. When he uttereth his voice, there is a multitude of waters in the heavens, and he causeth the vapors to ascend from the ends of the earth. He maketh lightnings with rain, and bringeth forth the wind out of his treasures. Every man is brutish by his knowledge. Every founder is confounded by the graven image. For his molten image is falsehood, and there is no breath in them. They are vanity, the work of errors. In the time of their visitation, they shall perish. The portion of Jacob is not like them, that's Israel, for he is the former of all things, and Israel is the rod of his inheritance. Jehovah of hosts is his name. Thou art my battle axe, speaking of Israel, and weapons of war, for with thee will I break in pieces the heathen nations, and with thee will I destroy kingdoms. And with thee will I break in pieces the horse and his rider, and with thee will I break in pieces the chariot and his rider. With thee will I break in pieces man and woman. With thee will I break in pieces old and young, and with thee will I break in pieces the young man and the maid. I will also break in pieces with thee the shepherd and his flock. And with thee will I break in pieces the husbandman and his yoke of oxen, and with thee will I break in pieces captains and rulers. And I will render unto Babylon, and to the inhabitants of Chaldea, America, all their evil that they have done in Zion. So we're expecting Biden to do more bad things in Israel, okay? If he doesn't get his ceasefire, he may try to force one on us with his military. I don't know what he'll do. But he's going to do more, I think. He did October 7th. He had a hand in that. All their evil that they have done in Zion in your sight. So that's going to be done in the sight of the people that are alive at this time, saith Jehovah. So it's a now thing. Behold, I am against thee, O destroying mountain. Mountain's a big, powerful country, saith Jehovah, which destroyeth all the earth. And I will stretch out my hand upon thee, and roll thee down from the rocks, and will make thee a burnt mountain. Remember, it gets destroyed by fire. I will kindle fires in and around your cities. How did they kill us on October 7th? Many, they got burned alive. They burned them in their houses, in the bomb shelters. They burned them in cars. They took mothers and children, tied them together with metal wire, and lit them on fire. That's how Daughter of Babylon's going to go. So you want to tell me they didn't have a hand in October 7th? And they shall not take of thee a stone for a corner, nor a stone for foundations, but thou shalt be desolate forever, saith Jehovah. Set you up a standard in the land, blow the trumpet among the nations, among the heathen nations. Prepare the nations against her. Call together against her the kingdom of Arat, Mini, and Ashkenaz. These are the stand states in Russia, in Europe, that are from the USSR, that are allied with Russia. Appoint captains against her. Cause the horses to come up as rough caterpillars. Prepare against her the nations with the kings of the Medes, the Median Empire countries. They're called by different names now. The captains thereof, and all the, you could look up Median Empire, and the rulers thereof, all the land of his dominion. And the land shall tremble in sorrow, for every purpose of Jehovah shall be performed against Babel, to make the land of Babel a desolation without an inhabitant. The mighty, so no survivalists or preppers make it, okay? They trust in themselves. They trust in man, not God. They ain't gonna make it. The mighty men of Babel have forborne to fight. It's so bad. See, the leader, probably, which would be Biden if he's still there, because it's not going to happen very far off, maybe a few months, but that's it. The mighty men have forborne to fight. Forborne, 2308. Stopped, ceased. Biden gives his hand. He surrenders. They stop fighting. They have remained in their holes, their forts, their bases, their bug out locations, whatever. Their might hath failed. They became as women. They have burned her dwelling places. They're going to burn the houses. That's what they did to us on October 7th. They burned the houses. How many preppers, survivalists, and gun people do you know have big fire extinguishers? Her bars are broken. One post shall run to meet another, and one messenger to meet another, to show the king of Babel that his city is taken at one end. So it sounds like they're in a blackout. They got no communications. They're using foot people like messengers to run with a message. And the passages are stopped, and the reeds they have burned with fire. And the men of war were affrighted, for thus saith Jehovah of armies, the God of Israel. He's the God of Israel. You find me one scripture where he says he's the God of the church. Is like a threshing floor. It is time to thresh her. Yet a little while, and the time of her harvest shall come. The threshing floor is in a harvest with the wheat, where you separate the garbage, the junk, the tares, the junk from the wheat. The wheat gets gathered into the barn, which is Israel, and the tares get burned up. And that's the story here. Nebuchadnezzar, the king of Babel, hath devoured me. He hath crushed me. He hath made me an empty vessel. He hath swallowed me up like a dragon. He hath filled his belly with my delicates. He hath cast me out. This is probably the Babylonian captivity when they attacked Jerusalem. They burned everything, the temple. They took the artifacts back to Babylon. The violence done to me and to my flesh be upon Babel, shall the inhabitants of Zion say. So, and my blood upon the inhabitants of Chaldea, shall Jerusalem say. So it appears America is going to do more evil to Israel. Therefore, thus saith Jehovah, behold, I will plead thy cause and take vengeance, and I will dry up her sea and make her springs dry. We haven't really seen this yet. And Babel shall become heaps, a dwelling place for dragons, an astonishment and a hissing without an inhabitant. They shall roar together like lions, they shall yell as lions' whelps. In their heat I will make their feasts, and I will make them drunken, that they may rejoice and sleep a perpetual sleep, and not wake, saith Jehovah. I guess they're having some sort of party with debauchery and drugs, and they go to sleep, and that's when they get attacked or something. I don't know. I will bring them down like lambs to the slaughter. The men are in the holes and they're afraid to fight. Lambs don't fight. Like the rams with the he-goats. How is Sheshach taken, and how is the praise of the whole earth? That's America. Surprise. It's a surprise. Okay. 86:10. Let's see what Strong's translates it as. Nah, it's more like taken, captured. It's not so much surprise as captured. How is Babel become an astonishment among the nations? The sea has come up upon Babel. She is covered with the multitude of the waves thereof. Now, how do you get the sea to reach Kansas? It must be one heck of a wave, wouldn't you think? You think it could be an 18-inch wave that just reaches Kansas, that God makes that happen? Or you think maybe it's something more like 400, 500, 600-foot wave? I don't know. I don't really know. We'll find out. Her cities are a desolation, a dry land, a wilderness, a land wherein no man dwelleth, neither doth any son of man pass thereby. And I will punish Bel and Babel, and I will bring forth out of his mouth that which he hath swallowed up. Now, that could mean they don't want to let the Israelites leave. and the true believers that want to go to Israel too. There could be that. It could be that. And the nations shall not flow together anymore unto him. Now, the nations won't. Where do they flow? Well, they flow, I think, on 54th Street in New York City. The nations all go to the United Nations building and have meetings. So on the East River in New York City, it's 54th Street, I think, 57th or 54th. There's no other place that goes on. Yea, the wall of Babel shall fall. That's the wall from between Mexico and America. They're going to push it down. You could see that coming now. Think that's hard? They're already making holes in the wall. Maybe that's it. Shall fall. Let's see what that word means. How does Strong's treat the word? It can mean fall or fail. If it means fail, it's already happened. If it means fall, it's happened in part, but it's probably the wall's gonna go down, the whole wall. They'll just knock it down with trucks or something like that. I don't know. My people, go ye out of the midst of her, and deliver you every man his soul from the fierce anger of Jehovah, and lest your heart faint, and you fear, for the rumor that shall be heard in the land. A rumor shall both come 1 year, and after that, in another year. Well, you've been seeing that in America for years. Shall come a rumor, and violence in the land, ruler against ruler. Do you have violence in the land? Do you have a rising criminal rate? Do you have a lot of people that came into America illegally and became legal asylum seekers, attacking, killing, and robbing people and attacking the police? Do you have a lot of drugs being brought in that are illegal? And ruler fighting ruler. To be a ruler, you got to run something, a city, a state, something, right? A county at least. Do we have a ruler in Texas fighting another ruler named Joe Biden? I rest my case. Therefore, and there's half of America is on the side of the Texas governor. What a great opportunity for a civil war, ruler against ruler, those with Texas and those with Biden. Therefore, behold, the days come that I will do judgment upon the graven images of Babel, and her whole land shall be confounded, and all her slain shall fall in the midst of her. Then the heaven and the earth and all that therein will sing for Babylon, for the spoilers shall come to her from the north, saith Jehovah. As Babel hath caused the slain of Israel to fall. That's scary. Could be a throwback, but maybe not. So at Babel shall fall the slain of all the earth. You that have escaped the sword. Now, the escaping the sword, I believe, is ruler fighting ruler. Because it seems to indicate once the big attack comes on America, nobody gets out. But I could be wrong. Maybe it's not that case. For you that have escaped the sword, go away. Stand not still. Remember the Jehovah afar off, and let Jerusalem come into your mind. We are confounded because we have heard reproach. Shame hath covered our faces, for strangers are come into the sanctuaries of Jehovah. This happened in the past, and we know another temple's coming, and it may happen again very quickly. Wherefore, behold, The days come, saith Jehovah, that I will do judgment upon her graven images, and through all her land the wounded shall groan. Though Babel should mount up to heaven, and though she should fortify the height of her strength, yet from me shall spoilers come unto her, saith Jehovah. They're going to raise an army. Hey, come on, you'll get rich, you loot the place. They'll go through all the houses and get the safes and go to the banks and break the bank vaults and museums and all this other stuff. Department stores, malls. A sound of a cry come from Babel, and great destruction from the land of the Chaldeans, because Jehovah had spoiled Babel and destroyed out of her the great voice. Now, there's no other country that has the great voice like America. The Pope doesn't. Who listens to the Pope? The Hindus, the Buddhists, the Jews, the atheists, the Muslims? Nobody. It's America that they listen to. And destroyed out of her the great voice. When her waves do roar like great waters, a noise of their voice is uttered. Because the spoiler is come upon her, even upon Babel, and her mighty men are taken, every one of them, every one of their bows is broken, for Jehovah Elohim. No, it doesn't say that. It says Jehovah El, of recompenses. Jehovah God of recompenses, year of recompenses. Now, shall surely requite, and I will make drunk her princes and her wise men, her captains and her rulers and her mighty men, and they shall sleep a perpetual sleep, not awake, saith the King, whose name is Jehovah of hosts. Thus saith Jehovah of hosts, the broad walls, and that could be a long wall too, of Babylon, those are the thousands of miles of walls between Mexico and America, shall be utterly broken, and her high gates shall be burned with fire. And the people shall labor in vain, and the folk in the fire, they shall be weary. See? Get burned up. The word which Jeremiah the prophet commanded Sariah, and he goes through that. Thou shalt say, O Lord, thou hast spoken against this place to cut it off, that none shall remain in it, neither man nor beast, but it shall be desolate forever. And it shall be, when thou hast made an end of reading this book, and thou shalt bind a stone to it, and throw it in the midst of the Euphrates River. Okay, now let's go to, well, I think that, I don't know if there's anything else we can glean. Let's see. These chapters are so long. Throw it into the midst of Euphrates River, and thou shalt say, thus shall Babel sink and shall not rise from the evil that I will bring upon her, and they shall be weary. Thus far are the words of Jeremiah. Okay. Now we got a feel for the daughter of Babylon. We'll go to Revelation 18. And we'll look at the destruction of Mystery Babylon the Great, and I'll show you the many differences. And after these things, I saw another angel come down from heaven, having great power, and the earth was lightened with his glory, and he cried mightily with a strong voice, saying, Babylon the Great is fallen, and is become the habitation of devils, and the hold of every foul spirit, and a cage of every unclean and hateful bird. For all nations have drunk of the wine of the wrath of her fornication, and the kings of the earth have committed fornication with her. And the merchants of the earth are waxed rich through the abundance of her delicacies. It sounds a lot like the same. And because they're related. You have the original Babylon, daughter of Babylon, and now you'll have the great Babylon, the great city, but it's not here yet. I heard another voice from heaven saying, Come out of her, my people, that you be not partakers of her sins, and that you receive not of her plagues. Okay, this also sounds similar. For her sins have reached unto heaven, and God hath remembered her lawlessness. Reward her even as she has rewarded you, and double unto her double according to her works, in the cup which she hath filled to her double. How much she hath glorified herself, and lived deliciously, sounds like America. So much torment and sorrow give her, for she saith in her heart, I sit a queen, and am no widow, and shall see no sorrow. See, it sounds like Isaiah 47. Therefore shall her plagues come in one day. Now, death and mourning and famine, and she shall be utterly burned with fire. For strong is Lord God who judgeth her. So she too is burned by fire. And the kings of the earth, well, the original temple in Babylon, in Israel, the Solomon's temple was burned by fire, so I guess God's paying them back. Also, Sodom and Gomorrah were burned by fire and brimstone. And the kings of the earth have committed fornication and lived deliciously with her, shall bewail her and lament for her when they shall see the smoke of her burning, standing afar off for the fear of her, the fear of her torment, saying, Alas, alas, that great city Babel, that mighty city. See, it's a city. It doesn't have cities. It's a city. For in 1 hour is thy judgment come. See, it's 1 hour. You can't have destruction of America in an hour or a day. It's going to take too much time. And the merchants of the earth shall weep and mourn over her, for no man buyeth their merchandise anymore. We don't see an exodus of the workmen from other countries that do the agricultural work here. The merchandise of gold and silver and precious stones and of pearls and of fine linen, and purple and silk and scarlet and all thine wood, and all manner of vessels of ivory, and all manner of vessels of most precious wood, and of brass and iron and marble and cinnamon and odors, perfume, incense and ointments and frankincense and wine and oil and fine flour and wheat and beasts, pets, and sheep and horses and chariots and slaves and souls of men, and the fruits that thy soul lusted after are departed from thee. See, what the rich do is they eat fruit all year round. The stores catering to the wealthy people, like in Beverly Hills and stuff, will fly fruit in from all over the world and just sell it to people that have money. So if they want to get, really nice papayas, they'll pay $18, $25 a papaya. They don't care. And all things which were dainty and goodly are departed from thee, and thou shalt find them no more at all. The merchants of these things, which were made rich by her, shall stand afar off for the fear of her torment, weeping and wailing, and saying, Alas, alas, that great city. It could be a town, it could be a city. It's a city. Alas, that great city that was clothed in white linen and purple and scarlet and decked with gold and precious stone and pearls, for in 1 hour. Now, is that where the beast sets up his temple, and is that like a false New Jerusalem? Because look at this. That great city which was clothed in fine linen. And so, of course, it's not New Jerusalem. It doesn't come down from heaven, but maybe they'll tell the people it came from heaven. I don't know. But it didn't, but they might say that. For in 1 hour, so great riches has come to naught. And every shipmaster and all the company in ships and sailors and as many as trade by sea stood afar off. You see, this is not America. Washington, D.C. is just one city in America that admittedly runs the whole place. They meet. Hold on a second. I might have to go out and grab groceries if the guy got here early. I don't know. Yes? Olga? No, Ain. Lotov Mishpar. There's some crazy beautician that has a phone number like mine, and I get all the mess files. Okay. The company in ships and sailors, as many as trade by the sea afar off. Now you can't get from the sea. I mean, there's the Potomac River, which has like rowboats. It's a little nothing thing, like a big stream or something. You can't get to Washington, D.C., but it's not Washington, D.C. So I should stop here and let me explain to you where this is. Same jackass again. Yeah, hello, Olga.
Yes, hello. I talked to Olga. She's the cosmetic. Yeah.
Yeah, but Olga not here. I'm not Olga. This is the wrong number. I
That's wrong now.
Yeah, okay.
Do you know the right number?
No, I don't. I get calls for her a lot, but I don't know the right number. I'm sorry.
I see. Okay, sorry. Bye
Okay.
bye.
She didn't believe me. All right. So now I got to show you where Mystery Babylon the Great is. And it's not hard. What's going to be hard is for you to believe it, but it's right out of your Bible. Revelation 13:1. And I stood upon the sand of the sea. This is Apostle John standing by the sand of the sea. So he's by the coast or the ocean, he's at the beach. And saw a beast come up out of the sea, having 7 heads and 10 horns, and upon his horns 10 crowns, and upon his heads the name of blasphemy. This is the beast the whore is riding on in Revelation 17. This is the same beast when the pit opens in Revelation 9 and smoke comes up and the locusts with stingers with tails come out and locusts with stingers like serpents come out. Where he is in the wilderness with the whore is in the center of the earth. He's in the pit because the pit opens. He's in the pit. And the pit is probably under the ocean. So he comes up and he has to go through the ocean. This is not a regular mortal man that's coming up out of the pit from inside the earth. And the beast which I saw was like unto a leopard, and feet were as the feet of a bear. This is his attributes. It's allegorical. He doesn't have leopard and bare feet and all that stuff, okay? And his mouth is the mouth of a lion, and the dragon gave him his power. Who's the dragon? Satan. Satan gave him his power. How remarkable. And his seat. That's his throne. And great authority. So Satan gives this beast his power, his throne, his seat, and great authority. Now, how do we know where this takes place? It's easy unless you go to church and they screw your head up. You just go to Revelation 2. It's so easy. But so many people will not believe it because they want to believe the church, not God. Revelation 2, verse 12. And to the angel of the church in Pergamos. Pergamos is a city in Cyprus, northeast, which today is called North Cyprus, which is owned, operated, and controlled by Turkey. Now, they try to teach you in the more modern New Testament translations that come from those manuscripts they found in the monastery garbage pails in Jerusalem, which is absurd, or in Israel someplace. It's absurd. They try to tell you it doesn't say Pergamos, it says Pergamum. Pergamum's in Turkey, by the way, but it's not. It's Pergamos. It's in Cyprus, and that explains the island with the ships in the sea watching this city in northeast Cyprus burn. Okay? With Turkey, it would be rough. I'm not sure where Pergamum was. It's ridiculous to look for it. It's not correct. 1611 King James, and the 1550 manuscripts and the Geneva 1599 Bible are the ones that say Pergamos, and that's what it is. These things saith he which hath the sharp sword with 2 edges. That's what Yeshua is saying. It's Yeshua talking, so you want to reject the knowledge from Yeshua, he'll reject you. I know thy works and where thou dwellest, even where Satan's seat is. Okay, everybody that now knows where Satan's seat is, raise your right hand. In Pergamos. Now, you can reject Yeshua's words, and then he'll reject you. And you could run around dreaming that this happens in Jerusalem. You should get some swimming lessons for the lake of fire if you want to go that route. Where thou dwellest, even where Satan's seat is, and where thou holdest fast my name, and hath not denied my faith, even in those days wherein Antipas was my faithful martyr, who was slain among you, where Satan dwelleth. That's Pergamos in Cyprus. Cyprus is never in Israel, never will be in Israel. There's never been a Pergamos or even a Pergamum in Israel, never will be. You've been fed a line of crap by the churches, guys. That's your Bible. What do you want to believe? It's up to you. You got two roads ahead of you. You got the one to the lake of fire, and you got the one to eternal life in heaven with Father God Jehovah. Take your choice. But you can't reject the Bible. So they stood at sea and they watched her burn. Now, and cried when they saw the smoke of her burning, saying, what city is like unto this great city? And they cast, you see, it's like nothing else. You know, Babylon had the seven wonders of the world, but this one's going to be even more fantastic. And the daughter of Babylon, you know, it's got all the amusement parks, high rises, many things, but this one in the future is going to be something else. And cried weeping and wailing, saying, alas, alas, that great city wherein were made rich all that had ships in the sea. Okay? It's a city, not a nation. So don't tell me the United States is surrounded by water. Let's not get stupid, okay? If you want to call it Washington, D.C., it's not really on the water. It's on that Potomac little stream thing. It's not. The daughter of Babylon is America. This has not yet occurred yet. It's to come in the future. By reason of her costliness, for in 1 hour she's made desolate. She gets it in 1 hour. Rejoice over her, thou heaven, and you holy apostles and prophets, for God hath avenged you on her. And a mighty angel took up a stone like a great millstone. Now, this wasn't wrapping the book with a stone, you know, weighing the book down with a stone, with a great millstone, and cast it into the sea, saying, thus with violence shall that great city Babylon be thrown down, and shall be found no more at all. In Jeremiah 50:51, it refers to the daughter of Babylon and her cities. I will kindle fires in and around the cities. It's a plural. And the voice of harpers and musicians and of pipers and trumpeters shall be heard no more at all in thee. And no craftsman of whatsoever craft be he be shall be found any more in thee. And the sound of a millstone shall be heard no more at all in thee. And the light of a candle shall shine no more in thee. And the voice of the bridegroom and the bride shall be heard no more in thee. For thy merchants were the great men of the earth, for by thy sorceries were nations deceived. And in her was found the blood of prophets and saints, and of all that was slain upon the earth. Okay. Now, where do you think the beast is going to build his temple? Where he has the false prophet and the talking statue? In Tokyo or Berlin or South Africa or perhaps Pergamos, where he has to be to get the power from Satan, and the false prophet has to be near the beast to get the power from him. And that's where the temple is going to be, the beast temple in Pergamos. And it's not going to be for some years. I'm going to go look at the chat and see what kind of garbage I got to throw out. Okay, I got the garbage out. So that's what the reality of this is. And if you listen to the video I did the day before, you'll get the layout of the time frames for this, which is quite a few years away. Um, it's not something happening right now. The destruction of the daughter of Babylon is on. That's a right now kind of thing. Okay? I don't ignore the chat. I just can't spend a lot of time in the chat. I don't have any moderator. I don't know anybody that wants to be a moderator that I know and trust. So I don't have one, and I just teach. And people have suggested me to close the chat, and if anything, I'm considering I may. I doubt I'll do that. I don't think I will. So it gives a vehicle for people to answer questions, you know. But there's a bunch of jerks that come in there all the time. They're probably young children, got nothing to do. And anything relating to the Bible or they're opposing their beliefs, they go in and attack it. And probably not have any idea what they're doing, you know. So I did this in detail. I hope you got it. There's really three Babylons. The original one, which was generally around Iraq, but way bigger. There's the daughter of Babylon, America, and there's the upcoming Great City Mystery, Babylon. And what you need to understand about the Hur, which goes very quick, I'll show you this, is the last verse in Revelation 17. You need to read this. You know, it says, "And the woman which thou sawest is that great city which reigneth over the kings of the earth." So the Hur that's riding on the beast is that great city. And she gets burned and destroyed. And that's probably why you see the beast running around near Israel and various countries attacking and stuff like that. It's got years and years to go. Okay? It may start very soon. And it's not going to start off that wicked. It says Babel has fallen. All the demons are hanging out there. So and it says to believers to leave. So it probably starts out okay. And people go there because they can prosper economically. Maybe they pay high wages, maybe they could open up a business and do well, or sell things to people there or whatever. Okay. But they're told to leave and they leave. Just like they're told to leave America and they leave. That never happened in the original Babylon. But the children of Israel got out safe. And the children of Israel and the true believers, which are children of Israel, will get out safe from the daughter of Babylon. And again, Mystery Babylon the Great, because that's always the way it's going to work. So you see so many of these signs converging right now. It's incredible. Revolution is on the way already with Texas standing against Biden, breaking his laws. Half of American states are supporting Abbott in Texas. The migrant crisis. It's all there. So you have a chance that China may attack Taiwan and North Korea, South Korea to draw the military out of America. Okay. And Russia may start attacking some countries in NATO and Europe. And that'll draw more of the American military out, and the Houthis and possibly Iran are drawing American military out. So then when the American military is really thinned out, the agents, the sleeper agents, will start attacking military bases, and then the other countries will begin their invasion when the military bases are defunct. And they'll probably knock out a lot of water plants, electric plants, sewage plants, and things like that. People will be cut off, the internet will be down, electric will be down. Some people will have solar power and they could power up their cell phone or their laptop, but what are they going to do with it? What internet? You can get yourself a shortwave radio. And what are you going to do with it? Who are you going to listen to? You might find an occasional guy somewhere, some prepper survivalist around the world that has a shortwave transceiver and he could transmit. And he could transmit his confusion because he's not, I mean, if he lives in, Springfield, Illinois or something like that, he might be able to tell you what's going on in Springfield. But that's about it. So I think the internet's going to go. The internet's good and evil. The internet lets me spread the gospel, the true gospel. It also allows for gambling, pornography, all kinds of garbage, Look at the minds of the people that come in here and write offensive comments in the chat. Could you imagine how unhappy and miserable these people are to enjoy doing things like this? Do you have any idea what depravity they're in? How unhappy they are. My name's Moshe, my wife is Rivka. Please pray for us, for our peace, safety, protection, and blessing. Pray for our animals and pets, which are all rescues, to be happy, healthy, and whole, not run away. Bueller is pretty healthy, but she still thinks she's going to drop a litter, and she's running around getting ready for the litter. So please pray her false pregnancy goes away. That's what the vet said it is. Pray that Bueller's false pregnancy rapidly goes away. And pray for better videos. We get more insights. And pray for the peace of Jerusalem. And I send my shalom to all those who love Yeshua HaMashiach. And I'm out. Thank you. I hope you got something